picture of time of solution. See the possibilities.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Carey Davidson, author of The Five Archetypes, an ancient technology for problem solving. And this is a channel to heal relationships. Today, we're speaking with the amazing Maddie, who is a beautiful, shiny fire human. And today, Maddie's going to be talking to us about a romantic relationship challenge. So, Maddie, tell us what you would like to change.
Yes. So I have a habit of when I meet someone and they become interested in any way, setting certain expectations or this dream version of them. And I kind of place these expectations upon them. And I'll ignore certain signs just because I visualize them as this human rather than, getting to know who they are truly and slowly. So I want to stop doing that and just, take people as they are and gradually learn them. So I stop jumping into things before it's right because they're usually not right. They're just my head being a dreamer.
Oh my gosh, I feel like this is going to be a very relevant issue for a lot of people watching this. So my first question for you would be, can you give me an example of a recent time, like the details of a situation when this happened to you? Like what was going through your mind? What were those expectations?
Yeah, the last person I was dating, when I met them, we met on a project and we all were getting along so well. He was so fun. And we kind of bonded over writing. And I love writing. And he had just started like writing as well. So as we started to talk, we were sharing our writing, sharing the books we were reading. And so I thought he had this like deeper emotional side and creative side. And that was something I really want. So I like imagined him as this type that was really in tune and writing every night and so I just kind of fell for that. And then as we started to really date, I realized that those weren't common things for him. Like, and that kind of fell off. And, he does that occasionally, but in my head, I still had it fixated that we could have this beautiful creative relationship and like maybe write together and all this. And even as it was revealed to me that he wasn't that way at all, I just had this fixation where I was like, well, it was like that at one point. So it can be that. And maybe he is. And I let the relationship go on for so much longer because I expected this side to come back out or be more prevalent than it truly was at all.
So would you say it almost took on a fantasy quality?
Yeah, I think so.
Um, have you ever noticed any other place in your life where this happens?
Hmm, Probably a lot of aspects. I definitely am like a dreamer and I'm always thinking of scenarios and making little things up in my head. And I especially do it young people I'm considering romantically, but even just in certain habits I do and what my life could be like and everything. I'm romanticizing and dreaming up everything, which is fun. But then sometimes I'm like, oh, the reality, or maybe I need to accept some of the things actually happening. Uh, so I definitely do it in different aspects of my life. Or I guess a big one would be I get antsy and I want to move and I want to live somewhere different. And wherever I'm thinking about living, I'm like romanticizing how perfect it would be and what the type of person I would be like and how it would all go. But the truth is, it's still just be me. I'd just be in a different place and not know anyone. And it wouldn't be as charming and romantic. I'd still have the same struggles, but like I have this, picturesque version of what it would be. So yeah, I do that all the time.
Yeah, I can identify. Um, so if you were to sit back and think about the cost, to your emotional well-being or to your pursuing careers or to um spending like good, delicious, true time and good relationships, um, not pausing in the beginning and going taking like what you see at kind of like face value of, oh, he was a great writer and we bonded there, and kind of investing in that as truth and going with it in your mind, thinking about like the time spent going down that path, even though you started to see kind of clues that that wasn't necessarily the truth. Could you talk about um, the cost of not stepping back and not thinking about this from a reality versus fantasy?
Yeah, I think it had me seeing this person for longer than I would have normally if I'd known from the start, and pursuing someone that wasn't the good fit, that had this energy that was up here and stressing me out. He liked to press my buttons and like he thought that was fun. And I spent the past 2 months just like stressed out all the time and frustrated. And instead of like leaving what this thing that was frustrating me, just dealing with it some longer than I should have. And I'll find myself, yeah, just putting up with more. Like I'll tolerate a lot that normally, if that was there from the beginning, I wouldn't have. And then I find myself just in cycles of being stressed out or trying to make excuses for someone, and um, yeah, just dealing with all these frustrations over a person, and that I wouldn't normally do.
Yeah. So then, if you could wake up tomorrow and the work we did on this call helped shift this in you, um, how would your life be different? How would you feel? What would feel different? What choices would be different? What would change?
I think what would change would be when I see people, I would just start seeing just as they are. I wouldn't start, building these fantasies up in my head. I would just be like, oh, that's that person. And if I enjoyed the time, I'd get to know them more. If I didn't, I wouldn't not place expectations upon other people or situations. And I think that would make me feel a little more free, instead of like living in these romantic worlds and have these burnouts when they don't work the way I expect them to. And I would just spend a little less time obsessing over people or ideas that might not be meant for me at all. And then I can put that energy towards actual things I want to do, creativity and other work projects, or just spending time with the people that I already am, friends with and love and actually know. And so I think it would just make me feel a little bit lighter and I wouldn't be as stuck in my head.
So it's almost like what you describe as this, um, call it like intuitive capacity. Like, wouldn't it be nice if our intuitive capacity could see like right away, up, this is true, this is not, this is going to be wasting my time. Um, but I almost wonder, you know, even sometimes our intuitive capacity can be a little off. What specifically could you do? Like, what actions could you take, do you think, to give yourself like that awareness? How would you start if you could imagine starting off, you're on a project, you meet a cool person, you're like, oh, there's a spark there. And in the first hour of meeting that person, what might you imagine you could do differently if we solved this for you?
Hmm. Um, Yeah, because I love the idea of the spark and being drawn to someone, but sometimes when that happens, I'll let certain things that normally I wouldn't be as interested in or fly kind of go over my head. So I think I would need to just like almost like quell the spark a little bit, be like, okay, I'm feeling this, but let me still keep my brain turned on. So I'm just, hearing them and not like being all like, oh my God, whatever they say. Just if something feels like they say something that's a little weird or I don't agree with, just be like, oh, okay, maybe say something about that right away. And not just let anything they say, just be like, oh, they're perfect, it's fine. So just like put the spark, maybe see if I could turn it down a little bit so I'm still listening in with like ears for the things that would bother me or be issues, and see them just as a person, not as like a deity or something. I get a little infatuated, and then I'm like, and then when that drops off, I'm pissed off at them and I'm like, you did me wrong. But really, it was kind of my fault. So I guess, yeah, trying to just actually remember that's like the human being, and you know turn down my energy and obsession in that moment, perhaps.
Yeah, and you're spot on. So, okay, you ready for some five archetypes thoughts on this?
Yeah.
So your primary is fire, and you have a lot of wood energy behind it. So it's close. It's a close second. Those two energies are the fastest of the five.
That makes sense.
The two natures that are the slowest within us are your two lowest energies. So you will default more quickly when you feel inspired into speedy behavior. And that could be adventurous. So it could also be the traveling. Like, hey, I want to try, maybe the grass is greener in Kansas City. Well, maybe it is in Idaho. And so there's that adventurous, passionate spirit within you that does want to try new things and is open and is excited about possibilities. When it's applied to relationships, um, it's delicious and wonderful, and people love it. And if we only use those strategies when we get into when we start relationships, we're at risk for doing, over fantasizing or over deifying someone being this like amazing human from the get-go. And the interesting thing that also happens is when a person shows up with fire, it is very attractive and very bright and very luminous. And just like a bonfire on the beach, people can't take their eyes off of you. And there's an instant feeling of being attracted, like flies to a flame. Maybe that's not like the best metaphor, but there's this feeling like, oh my gosh, she's making such beautiful eye contact with me. She must be in love with me. Yeah. So, so we have to also, as fire people, be careful about the message that we're unconsciously delivering. So people will want to actually put their best foot forward because they feel so brightened and hopeful by us. They're at risk for believing that we are kind of saving them from feeling crappy. And so they have an immediate attachment to that too, and they're at risk for feeling getting burned by us because we're just being our fiery selves and showing up where we are with excitement and love in this moment. But if other people don't have high fire in them, they take that impulse of ours as a commitment. And then all of a sudden the loss of it feels cruddy. And they're wondering, where did we go? And they're feeling hurt. So the solution for fire is kind of twofold. There's a piece you do for yourself, and then there's a piece we do to empathize with the potential pain that just by showing up as our bright selves we could be causing other people. And so we're doing it for two reasons. So back to what you were saying, yeah, we have this overall spark. I mean, literally, fire is sparky. And so step one is to keep that spark at a 5, as much as we can when we're engaging with new people, because fire can burn. But it can also be a lovely, just luminous pilot light that keeps everything warm. And so if you can imagine yourself as that pilot light when you walk into a room, you're less likely to create an energy that everyone wishes they could be around. And then it gets a little bit distorted. Um, the other things you said are so beautiful. Pay attention, listen differently. These are your lowest elements in your constitution. This is about metal and water. And these are the slowest and the lowest. And so, so when you think about what resources are available to you in your nature, we all have all these resources. They correspond to our organs as much as they correspond to our adaptive abilities. So it's not like we can function without our lungs or kidneys. So we all need all of these resources. We just over-index. We default into the ones that feel a little bit more comfortable. And for you, that's fire and wood. So giving you something that you can actually do. You are spot on. The solution is to slow down and become skeptical in these moments. And skepticism isn't mean or bad. It's just making a commitment not to believe everything you think and see and hear, the good and the bad. Fire's at risk for thinking like, oh, you didn't like my earrings, and then like, darn it, I must look crappy, and then feeling bad about ourselves. But the opposite is true also. Gosh, you look great in those jeans. And then you have, an amazing, amazing day. Rather than stepping back and saying, well, what is it about my jeans that you like? What is it about these earrings that rub you the wrong way? And not necessarily going into the extremes. And fire is an extreme element. It can burn stuff down in an instant if the wind blows a certain way, and it can be put out in an instant with too much water. So, so before I give you a little bit more of a to do for some homework, does this make sense for you?
Yeah, definitely. And I definitely feel that with the extremes of fire because my personality, I'm so full on or nothing, and I'm like hot or I'm cold. Like the middle ground is where I struggle. So I think, yeah, maybe that visualization of like, oh, okay, my flame's here. I need to like keep it more in the middle, and that will probably keep me from also, having these crazy highs and this, that, whatever, and then I'm so burnt out and I can't do anything, or I can keep it at a little bit more medium heat level, um, just in my existence in general will probably feel a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. It's true. We don't think about it because we get kind of addicted to the excitement and the joy and the high. It feels so good, but it's also kind of as you've experienced in the past, probably few years, um, that high doesn't always mean it's true. And sometimes means it's like not quite the truth. And then we've invested all this time and energy in something that's not going to last. And then it's deeply disappointing, and then we feel like garbage. So, so, so the solution is to strengthen the metal and water within you. Specifically in relationships, like when you meet someone, we should have a strategy. When you meet a new person, but we should also have some resilience building activities day by day to make sure that when you meet that new person and they've got that spark in their eyes and it's hot, that your fire doesn't say, ah, screw it all, I'm going to go for this. Right. So we need to
Hmm.
protect you. So here's what we should do. I have a question. Do you have anything in your life that has a routine? Like, do you have a morning routine or a bedtime routine? Is there anything you do regularly?
Yeah, I would say my both my morning and my night routine, especially my morning, I like to get up, water, I'll feed my cat, I put on water for coffee and have like a small ritual most days. Some days I meditate, I won't say I do it all days, but I make my bed. Like there's a few things that are always kind of getting done. So
Nice, nice, nice. Let's see what else. Do you have any sort of gratitude practice?
occasionally, sometimes with the meditation ones I'll follow, some of them are like more of a manifesting one, and then one's like a gratitude. And usually the one I do has the manifesting either has like a little section of like gratitude and abundance that you go into. But that's, maybe a couple times a week.
Okay, so metal corresponds to the lungs, the large intestine, but also to so many things. One is gratitude, even for the things that are hard, because they teach us those beautiful lessons that help us improve. Um, and another is um, systems, organizations, rituals, routines, things like that. But it sounds like um, you have a morning routine, which is good. What I'd love to insert to build the muscle in your mind that can access the metal in you more easily when you're at risk of being too fiery. I'm going to add a little thing for homework. Every morning, as soon as you wake up, before you do anything, before you rise out of bed, but as soon as you realize you're awake and you're not going back to sleep, put your right hand on over your heart and name three people or three things that you're grateful for. Does
Hmm,
that sound
okay,
like something you could do?
definitely. And I think that's a really lovely way to start the day as well.
Okay, and it's easy. It's super
Yeah.
easy. It's not like so that's your metal thing. Now I want to ask you about your water capacity within your own life right now. So water is literally on one level staying hydrated. Do you feel like you drink enough water?
No, I used to be good about it, but like the past few months and even today and yesterday, no, I've not been good about water consumption.
Okay, so then let's focus on a morning routine that includes water drinking. So, if this is okay for you, I would wake up in the morning and after you brush your teeth, kind of get yourself situated, start with 12 to 15 ounces of warm water. Um, Warm enough that's like, not like burn your mouth hot,
Mhm.
but warm enough that it's not just lukewarm. Um, Warm water and warm foods stimulate peristalsis, which is the contraction of the digestive tract. So it gets everything moving, which means, the definition of health, um, in or what we go for in Ayurvedic medicine is transforming food into energy and information into knowledge. So the more we get stuck thinking our primary element way is the only good way in this world, we're not actually transforming information into knowledge. We're just repeating something that makes us think we feel, I'm still comfortable. I don't have to feel uncomfortable. So drinking warm water in the morning stimulates the part of the body that moves things along. So you might find, I mean, we didn't talk about bowel movements, so we don't have to, but you might find that it stimulates a regularity there, but it's also meant to stimulate the transformation of information into knowledge in those tough moments when you are faced with someone who's like, girl, I am like really inspired by you. And this capacity helps you have a better chance of seeing that and asking a deeper question about it rather than just believing it. So you're transforming that information that just popped into your field into knowledge about what's really happening here. Um, does that feel like two things you could do in the morning?
Yeah, definitely. While I'm heating up like water for my coffee, I can use some of it and do it for like the warm water and everything. And I don't like really cold water right in the morning either, so like that'll fit in nicely with me and everything.
Nice. Okay. So then the last thing I'm going to give you is a kind of a checklist to have like, in your proverbial back pocket, um, when you meet someone new. So you're at risk of meeting someone new every day. And so what I would say is start your day with the knowledge that remembering that you're at risk for taking a smile, eye contact, good connection as meaning something. And all it is information. It's just information that's passing through your awareness. And so remind yourself of that every day and then prepare yourself with like 2 or 3 questions you can always ask someone who gives you a compliment or wants to know more about you. Some of those questions could be like, "Oh, you liked my performance? Tell me more about what you liked about it." "Oh, have you ever experienced hanging out with someone who's good at that? What was it like for you before?" Um, Deeper, don't just take everything at face value. Imagine that you're an investigative reporter and it's your job to do a full and fair reporting on the story, and give people the truth.
I like that.
Does that sound like stuff you could do?
Yeah, and I think that's a good idea. Because yeah, I always just like try and take face value, this and that, and be like, ooh. But I think it makes sense and it's smart to have that level of skepticism to be like, what is it that you're liking? And I think that also is interesting because it'll open up more interesting topics and deeper conversation and connection, even potentially to being able to like dive into something, not just being like, thanks, moving on. Like that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to stay in touch and hear more about your life and your relationships and your success out in the world. I'm so grateful for you and this time. Thank you, Maddie.
Thank you.
Of this amazing